We need to make sure that the American people are just as enraged as we all should be.
Right.
Because this administration is truly trying to kill us, it feels like.
Yes. Enraged. You need to be enraged, and you need to be violent, and you need to be, in order to be a Democrat, you don't have to be, but it helps if you're violently, criminally insane and suffer from gender dementia. That puts you in good with the Democrat Party. Well, once again, a very joyous Tuesday to you, and welcome back. We remain at 888-630-9625. The violent, racist, anti-Semitic, criminally insane, firebombing Democratic Party at it again. It's who they are. And I have a number of items that I wish to share with you this morning because there are, more examples of the Democrat Party being what the Democrat Party is. And that's not the good guys. Boy, is that not the good guys, not by a long shot. Not only are they encouraging boys and men to compete as girls and women and steal everything from the girls and women in violation of Title IX, which they at one time were great champions of, and now because of the mental difficulties that the Democrat Party is having. Let's go to soundbite number 28. Number 28. The Democrats showed up at the Met Gala. They call it the Met Gala. And that is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, a great building filled with some of the great artifacts and art from all over the world and from throughout human history. And they dress up. You may remember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez showed up in a very, very tight dress that had scrawled on it, tax the rich or eat the rich or one of those. I think it was just tax the rich, but occasionally they have their eat the rich thing. And they call them protests. Normal people would call them riots because of the violence. And what was the theme of the protests? Well, it was anti-Semitism. That is to say, they're anti-Israel and pro-Hamas. That is to say, they're pro-genocide, like, for example, the Nazis in World War II, or Hamas here in 2025, dedicated to the extermination of an ethnic group, of a group of people. That is technically a genocide. And they yell, the Jews are committing genocide against Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization that was elected in free and fair elections that were set up by the Israelis so that they could prove who they are, and boy, they did. And here they've got headlines like People magazine, Jeff Goldblum, who is Jewish, his name is Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum says Met Gala 2025 is a protest. He says it's protest, not a riot or a genocidal. And he said he supports it wholeheartedly. They will literally exterminate you and your family and set your bodies on fire, just like the old days. But Jeff Goldblum, because he's a Hollywood liberal, he's always been kind of fun in movies. And, I've always liked him as an actor. But they're stupid because in addition to everything else, the evil and the violence and the firebombing and the anti-Semitism, they're also typically low IQ, like Rosie O'Donnell, who moved to Ireland and all that. Pro-Palestinian protesters gather at Met Gala. Counter-demonstration held nearby, the Times of Israel reports, because they care about not being exterminated by the genocidal loons, to include the Democrat Party and Hollywood liberals like Jeff Goldblum, of all people. Pro-Palestinian protesters are gathered about a block away from the Met Gala in Manhattan, in the area immediately around the museum, and it has been cordoned off. Organizers calling for protesters to surround the Met, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, in social media posts claiming the Manhattan institution is tied to genocide in every way possible. So Jeff Goldblum is out there to support Hamas, who would hang his rancid corpse upside down to be picked apart by buzzards. But never mind that. You should go visit Gaza, Jeff. You should maybe bring sandwiches. Make sure they're halal, though, because could be a problem otherwise. The Hardline Within Our Lifetime organization. It's a group, the center of the New York City most volatile anti-Israel protest, also called out celebrities for continuing to, they say, flaunt their extreme wealth and materialism. Wealth and that means they're communists in addition to everything else. As residents of Gaza suffer in the ongoing war with Israel, maybe they shouldn't have picked a fight with people that would beat them like their schoolgirls and Israel's Muhammad Ali. But never mind that. New York City police said that no arrests had been made. In the second year in a row, the protests have taken place outside of the Met Gala, a big annual event for the rich and influential in New York and beyond. People fly in their private jets for the Met Gala, and they parade around and drink fussy champagne. And again, Jeff Goldblum, IQ test fail. Met Gala, it's a protest, and he supports it wholeheartedly. Well, you should maybe go self-immolate alongside the protesters because they wouldn't put you out. And when they decided to, I don't want to explain how they would, because they'd be standing in a circle around you. Just amazing stuff. And the news media, People magazine, they write, Jeff Goldblum arrived at the 2025 Met Gala in a Wales Bonner suit and overcoat. So they're still talking about, hey, they got genocide over here against the Jewish people. But what are you wearing? Nothing Jewish, I hope. Maybe a Hugo Boss. Should wear a Hugo Boss if you want to join the party, because Hugo Boss, a great clothing designer and brand, made uniforms for the Nazis, for the Nazi leadership. Really snappy-looking uniforms they had. Got to give him that. So pretty amazing stuff. And he's 72 years old, and he's too stupid to know what he's in favor of and what he's not. Well, let's go to soundbite number 28, because here they go. They're going to, and if you're not one of them, then you're a racist and you're a cracker. Now, they're genocidal racists themselves, anti-Semites, but they use the words, they don't know what they mean.
Back off. You push me,
out of my face.
You push me, cracker. You're the one getting You push me, cracker.
Hey, cracker. I'm a cracker.
You push me, cracker. Back the off. Back the
They're cursing a lot. It's not just crackers.
Back up, cracker. Back up, cracker.
Uncle Cracker. I don't know what that is. And Press TV with the headline, pro-Palestinian protesters say New York fashion gala, quote, has blood on its hands. I mean, didn't AOC have like a bloody handprint on her $1 million dress with the Eat the Rich thing on it and all that good stuff? They A-list celebs staying at top New York City hotels famed for Met Gala. So they're going to be holding a protest. They love protesting. You know, I've never actually protested. Have you ever protested? Maybe once or twice. What do you protest? I'm really not a protester. I'm what is the term? Normal. I'm normal, well-adjusted to the culture and society that I live in, to the world that I live in. There it is. Manhattan Hotel for the posh Met Gala will be confronted with an ugly labor dispute before walking the red carpet Monday. Big unions warn. And it's, again, lefties. And the lefty union people, they've got big red signs, and I think it's the Socialist Workers' Party. The left is here. The communists are here. They call themselves liberals. They call themselves Democrats. But I'm here to tell you they're not liberals. They're not Democrats. Again, outside the Met Gala, and if you show up and you're Jewish, then the left attacks you violently, and they call you Nazis, while they are calling for the extermination of the state of Israel from the river to the sea.
pigs! Nazi pigs! Get out of my face! How's it feel to be a Nazi? Nazi terrorist pigs! You're Nazi pigs! You are Nazi pigs! You are Nazi pigs! You are Nazi pigs! Punch in the face! Let's go.
Sure, get back. That's your Nazi begging of violence. And the police, because it's New York and they're run by idiots, the New York City is run by idiots, they say they didn't arrest anyone. Now, we heard dozens of assaults taking place there. There are assaults taking place. But in New York, crime has been legalized by Democrats, which is why you have Democrats robbing dead people on subway trains and then sexually assaulting them repeatedly while no one does anything until a second man comes along and tries to rob the dead body again because the Democrat Party. The Met Gala last night. I don't think I want to go to the Met Gala.
Hey, media, back the up.
Media, hey, media.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? That's a good what's up.
What's up?
Hey, what's up?
Step on whatever this pig dropped.
Hey, the pigs, man.
You terrorist pig! You're a Nazi!
You're a terrorist pig, you're a Nazi.
You are Nazis! You are Nazi colonizers!
Colonize.
Oh! Can you guys do your f***ing job?
I love the Nazi colonizers. I love they're anti-colonial. Sure. Yeah. They just want the state to smother every breath that you take for the rest of your life. A little fat. Now, who are the fascists? They use the words, but they don't know what they're. Now let's go all the way out to the West Coast and the state of Washington, where they apparently have a college now. Did you know that? The University of Washington, they call it. Do you think it's a real university? Is that a 4-year school? I'm not sure. The Jerusalem Post on the job again. 30 members of Hamas-glorifying student group arrested after occupying Washington University building. University of Washington spokesman Victor Bolta, how do we know is a man and not a woman, said that the university will not be intimidated by this sort of offensive behavior and will continue to oppose anti-Semitism in all its forms. They just want to differentiate themselves from the ivies, the poison ivies. Isn't that amazing? But now let's go to soundbite number 31. The University of Washington, they're attacking the police. They don't like the police, from what I can tell.
Charging with genocide.
Please clear the street.
Shut the up.
On the sidewalk. You cannot interfere with these officers.
I think I'd kick them all out of college.
You can be subject to arrest. Again, you can peacefully
Hit them with fire hoses,
on the west sidewalk.
tasers.
Interfere with these officers.
I think this is a good opportunity to use your nightstick.
Get a real job.
Get a real job. That's a good one.
Every cop dead is a victory for the resistance.
Every cop
Every
dead.
IOF soldier killed is a victory against colonialism.
IOF. Every IOF soldier killed. I think he means IDF, but he's too stupid to know what he hates. But this is what the left teaches. And every cop dead is a victory for what? Against colonialism?
May I suggest using a nightstick, officer?
I think that's an excellent idea. And then they firebomb. They're firebombing, Molotov cocktails. The Democrat Party loves Molotov cocktails. There are big fires burning in the background because the little fascists, they need nightsticks to the head. They need fire hoses. They need tear gas, pepper spray, tasers, and stun guns, too. I think they need all of that. Isn't that amazing? They're yelling, and every cop dead is a victory against colonialism.
Every cop dead is a victory for the resistance. Every IOF soldier killed is a victory against colonialism.
iOS? What is an what is that? IOF? He's too dumb to go to college. I'd kick him out, even though it's the University of Washington. I know. I'd kick him out, and maybe gas him. Maybe give him a good gassing. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? That'd be great fun. Hey, are you a yo-yo dieter? You know, you diet, you lose weight, but then you gain it all back again, maybe plus a few extra pounds. Well, break free of your yo-yo diet pattern. That's a main reason that doctors created Lean. Lean, from my good friends at Brick House Nutrition, is a supplement. It's not an injection. You don't have to give yourself shots. You don't need a prescription from a doctor either, because Lean targets weight loss in 3 very intelligent and powerful ways. First, it helps you to maintain healthy blood sugar levels, and it helps you to control appetite and cravings. That's kind of key. And it helps to burn fat by converting fat into energy. That's a good idea. Listen, if you're tired of losing weight, then gaining it all back again, Lean was created just for you. Let me get you started with 20% off when you enter PLANT20, PLANTE 20, at takelean.com. That's takelean.com, and the code is PLANT20 at takelean.com. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. It is not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. This is what the Democrats have done to the United States and to protest movement. They really should be wearing armbands and snappy hats. Maybe Hugo Boss uniforms would be perfect for them. We remain at 888-630-9625.
The Bullocks next door, real right-wingers. American flag up every day. Real fascists. Ought to be gassed. You know the type.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, Michael, let us go to the telephones once again. Let's go to John, calling from the great state of Indiana. John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, I think it's great that you keep Abrego Garcia in the news, because it's an 80-20 issue for Trump, and would be for the GOP if they'd stand with him. But I think they need to have a puppy love award at MRC and give it to Chris Van Hollen for his bulldog attempts to try and get a smooch from Abrego Garcia.
That is a fun idea.
WMAL listeners, they could call him the Upper Marlboro Man.
The Upper Marlboro Man. That is the town in Maryland where a friend of mine lives. We go out to his property and shoot guns out there. That's fun on his family farm. Yeah, the Puppy Love Award. That's a fun idea, John. I got to say, and you're right about keeping the Democrat Party hero Abrego Garcia. They've shorthanded his thing. His first name is Kilmore. You know, that should be a clue. Kilmore Abrego Garcia is hero of the Democrat Party. Democrats are going to break him out of jail, members of Congress, and they're going to run him for office back here in the United States. Now, the Democrats have a guy, a deep state guy, and he was an FBI guy named Frank Figliosi. You know this guy? Frank Figliosi is one of the bad guys from the Trump first administration, and the FBI targeting him. The Figliosi is one of the deep state guys that helped the FBI to lose its reputation and go south. Now, this guy, his name is Cesare. His first name, nice Italian name. He went wrong. Frank Figliosi, and American. He is now former law enforcement agent and served assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. And when it was discovered that he was an anti-Trump deep state scoundrel, to be polite, NBC News hired him to be on MS-13 NBC because he's going to be on the wrong side of everything, in spite of his proud Italian heritage. Now, He was on the television on Friday with on MSDNC, MS-13 DNC. And he was on there with this fake reporter named Jonathan Lemire, who is not a journalist at all. He's a Democrat hack on cable television. And he was on there with the FBI lunatic Frank Figliuzzi, talking about the FBI director, Kash Patel. And as you'd imagine, Figliuzzi, he's got TDS up the yin-yang, and he hates America, and he's one of the people that ruined the reputation of the FBI. And so they pay him to be on MS-13 NBC, and fake reporter Jonathan Lemire, pretending to be an anchorman, went after him about Kash Patel. It's a way of attacking Trump. Attack the FBI director chosen by Donald Trump, and his name is Kash Patel. And listen to this smear, this slanderous stuff.
So, Frank, let's turn to FBI Director Kash Patel, who has sort of taken a surprisingly backseat role, at least to this point, in the first 102 or 3 days, wherever we are right now. What do you make of that? That he's just been a little less visible than I think a lot of people, Trump observers, expected he would be.
Yeah, more of a backseat role. He has not as a front seat role as people might have expected him to be. Well, the term is young, but I would like to see more action out of the FBI. But he is settling in, and he doesn't come from the background, the FBI background and things like that. And then they said, well, Frank Figliuzzi is sitting there, and it was on Morning Joke, but I think Joke had another day off because they spent a lot of days being off. But the fake journalist, the fanker man, as they're called, the fake anchorman, the fanker man, Jonathan Lemire, sitting there playing the role of Morning Joke, and Frank Figliuzzi. Hey, what about Kash Patel? He's sure not doing a lot.
Yeah, well, reportedly he's been visible at nightclubs far more than he has been on the 7th floor of the Hoover building. And there are reports that daily briefings to him have been changed from every day to maybe twice weekly. So this is both a blessing and a curse, because if he's really trying to run things without his experience, without any experience level, things could be bad. If he's not plugged in, things could be bad, but he's allowing agents to run things. So we don't know where this is going, but the one word that keeps coming back at me from inside that building is chaos.
Yes, it's and that's the Democrat Party issued word for the entirety of the Trump administration. And excuse me, you guys opened the border, waved millions of gang members in, murdering and raping and robbing and gangs everywhere. And you've created chaos like we've never seen in New York City, where Rosie O'Donnell just lost how much? $3.5 million selling her condo because nobody wants to buy it, because nobody wants to live in Manhattan anymore, because the Democrats are being the Democrats. Now, the New York Post has the story. MSNBC, that's MS-13 NBC, forced to walk back contributors' outlandish Kash Patel claim. And the radical left-wing extremist communist America-hating Mediaite Morning Joke walks back guest's wild claim about FBI Director Kash Patel partying at nightclubs. So that was the Friday exchange with this charlatan of the deep state who was undermining and sabotaging the first Trump administration. And now MS-13 pays him to go on NBC fake news on Morning Joke to make up stories. He uses weasel words like reportedly. Well, really, you saw on the internet? Because that's the FBI. That's Figliuzzi and our FBI people. But the New York Post has the story. MS-13 NBC forced to walk back contributors' outlandish Kash Patel claim. And they went back yesterday to Jonathan Lemire still there because Mo and Jika are still underwater drinking and trying to figure out how that girl died in Joe Scarborough's congressional office in Florida. But here is the same fraud, the fanker Jonathan Lemire. And they've been told by the legal team, I'm guessing, but not walking out on much of a limb here, that they've got to go on and roll back, retract what this idiot said on this idiot show on Friday. It was Idiot Friday at NBC. And here's Jonathan Lemire yesterday, and they took only 20 seconds to completely retract and deny what these frauds, these charlatans, these radicals, these extremists, these left-wingers, that they're going to be killing the Jews soon. They're firebombing everything. And here's what Jonathan Lemire said yesterday.
And now let's circle back to a segment from Friday's show. Frank Figliuzzi was on that morning during this hour discussing the work of administration officials. At the end of that segment, Figliuzzi said that FBI Director Kash Patel has reportedly been more visible at nightclubs than at his office at FBI headquarters. This was a misstatement. We have not verified that claim. We will be right back.
A misstatement. That's the whole retract. That was a misstatement. That was a crock, a cauldron of festering goo spewed by our fraud of a former FBI crook who is a political radical and extremist. And that was 20 seconds. Now we're going to break. We'll be. Oh, that was a misstatement, and we can't confirm. Nobody can confirm. That's a lot of internet stuff. So that was a huge lie from Figliuzzi, and we don't care. We're going to spend, and really, if you cut out the just the extraneous stuff, and that it was really like a 4-second. That's not true. We can't confirm that. That's just not the case.
This was a misstatement. We have not verified that claim. We will be right back.
We'll be right back. That was it. That was a misstatement. That means it's completely untrue. We cannot verify that. And that was the whole retraction. So that festering gob of a former FBI guy put that out there. And NBC smiled their way through it. This is great. We're trashing everybody. And then they come back on Monday and say, well, that's completely false. Now, who is this Frank Figliuzzi guy? You may remember him from 2019, when he was being a crook, also on MS-13 NBC. And Frank Figliuzzi is on there. And what does he say? He's making up a story that the flags at the White House under President Trump lowered to half staff, and not half mast, but half staff. And he's trashing President Trump, saying, oh, the flags are lowered to half staff and the date is 8/8. That must mean Hitler can't be far away.
We have to understand the adversary and the threat we're dealing with.
The adversary threat.
And if we don't understand how they think, we'll never understand how to counter them. So it's little things and language and messaging that matters. The president said that we will fly our flags at half mast.
Half staff.
Until August 8th.
Stupid.
That's 8/8.
August 8th.
Now, I'm not going to imply that he did this deliberately, but
yes,
I am using it as an example of the ignorance of the adversary that's being demonstrated by the White House. The numbers 8/8 are very significant in neo-Nazi and white supremacy movement.
He knows.
Why? Because the letter H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, and to them, the numbers 8/8 together stand for Heil Hitler. So we're going to be raising the flag back up at dusk on 8/8. No one's thinking about this.
Nor should anyone except mentally, I'll say, impaired people. You know, the thing is, people call him 1/8. People call him 1/8. Why do people call him 1/8? Well, because A is the number 1, the first letter in the alphabet. So that's A, 1 is A, and then 8 is H, because he's an a-hole. See, that's the thing about him. And that's why he's known as 1/8, because he's such a 1/8, such an A-H. That is Frank Figliuzzi. And he's a disgrace to the FBI, and that's not even easy to do anymore. But that's what he said. President Trump is in the White House. Someone had passed. The president ordered the flags lowered to half staff. He says half mast. He's an idiot. It's called half staff. How many years do you have to spend in the government before you know it's half staff and not half mast? You're not in the Navy, although maybe he'd like to be, if you know what I mean. Maybe the British Navy, known for their buggery. Isn't that amazing? So that's Frank Figliuzzi and trashing President. Yeah, it's Heil Hitler. It's white supremacist, because the date on the lowering of flags because of the death of just amazing stuff. And and this was the day, it was either July 13th of last year or July 14th. President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th. And Listen to Frank Figliosi. He comes on MS-13, and he says, well, forget about that stuff. Now those right-wingers are going to get revenge and strike back.
This kind of thing begets more violence and revenge. So if you're going to have protest areas in Milwaukee with presumably people who are anti-Trump, can you imagine people who think in their head the answer is to seek revenge for today's event, maybe against those who are protesting against Trump?
Maybe, but that never happened. Now, the Democrats continue their firebombing yesterday. They're terrorizing yesterday. They're attacking the police. They're chanting death to the police and death to colonialism and to capitalism.
Every cop dead is a victory for the resistance. Every IOF soldier killed is a victory against colonialism.
iOS soldier. Does anybody know, Jasmine, do you know what an iOS soldier is? I don't know. International Operations of Slavery, or I don't know what's the matter with these people. They're severely mentally disabled people. And they're average Democrats. Frank Figliosi should probably be in handcuffs, probably Alcatraz. I'm thinking Alcatraz for him. Now let's go to President Trump, because President Trump was very busy yesterday talking to the press and the American public, as he does every day. President Trump yesterday with his plan for self-deportation. And there's good stuff here. Turns out we spend like $7,400 deporting every illegal alien. And under their new plan, it'd only be like $4,300 to deport. And we'll put them on airplanes, buy their plane ticket, even give them $1,000. Just get the hell out of here. All right? Because honestly, you don't even smell good. Here's President Trump.
We're going to have a self-deportation where they deport themselves out of our country. And we'll work with them, and we're going to try, and if we think they're good, if they have, the people we want in our country, they're going to come back into our country. We'll give them a little easier route. But if they don't work, and if we take them out after the date, then they're never coming back, and that's the least of the problems that they're going to have.
Secretary Kristi Noem also there, and she's talking about how expensive it is to deport somebody and how under this new plan, even if we give them $1,000 in cash. And Kristi Noem, did she ever get her purse back from that illegal alien that robbed her? The Democrats like, an illegal alien in every pot. Amazing. Kristi Noem.
We spend about $17,000 arresting, detaining, and deporting an illegal alien right now today. If we have the opportunity to purchase a plane ticket and send someone home with a stipend like this, it saves us thousands and thousands of dollars. And it also is a much safer situation for officers and for those in communities.
I'm sorry, 17,000. My mistake. Amazing stuff. Just a minute. That's great stuff. Now, CNN sent a reporter, Isabel Jung, to Mexico to interview a member, presumably a leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, responsible for untold numbers of deaths in the United States and in Mexico. And CNN, Isabel Jung, sat down with him and said, hey, and how does it go? Here's Sinaloa, and he's dressed in a black ski mask, a baseball cap, gloves covered like he's Black September terrorists from the Munich Olympics, and he is, basically. And she sits down and says, hey, isn't Trump bad?
According to the Trump administration, you are a terrorist. I mean, the cartels have been labeled a foreign terrorist organization. What do you make of that?
Está fea la situación, ¿verdad? Está fea la situación, pero pues...
Give me a translator. Come on, I got some... and he says that... Trump, he says he understands Trump. He actually says that he understands Trump, which was kind of an interesting thing to say. Amazing stuff. And the guy said, and he explains, we gotta feed our family. Of course we gotta kill hundreds of thousands of people.
What's your message to Donald Trump if he's watching this?
2 Trump questions.
Él tiene que según él buscar lo mejor para los suyos. Pero el detalle que ya están los consumidores. Si no hubiera consumidores, pues uno le parara.
The killer here says, asked about Trump, what's your message to Trump? He says, my respect. Says, according to him, he's looking out for his people. But the problem is consumers are in the United States. That's true. The consumers of cocaine and fentanyl and everything else, they're Democrats. If there weren't any consumers, we would stop, he says. I think that's true. They would. So, hey, Democrats, stop doing all the drugs because you're fueling the cartels that murder all these people. Now, people have been very critical of the CNN reporter. It was brave to go into the Sinaloa cartel, the heart of the Sinaloa cartel, and ask questions. And, of course, she stays in good with her network, CNN, by hitting him with anti-Trump setup questions. Isn't Trump terrible? Isn't he awful? And honestly, the cartel guy, he says, he's asked about Trump, and he says, well, the situation is ugly, but we've got to eat. He says, guys got to eat, got to feed the family. So a lot of people are going to die. CNN used to be journalism. I think the Sinaloa cartel guy on CNN is wearing, he wearing? A Joker hat. It's kind of a Joker hat, right? Crazy Democrats. All right, let us take an additional phone call and talk to the normal people. We give Democrats voice, and then we give sane and rational, thoughtful people voice as well. And with that, let's go to Tom, calling from the great city of Chicago, Illinois, listening on WLS. Tom, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hi, Chris. I'm confused, and I'm hoping you can help. So you were talking about the FBI guy and the 888 representing letters in the alphabet, that this was compelling evidence. So my confusion is Kilmore Garcia, his tattoos, I believe they represent letters in the alphabet, but the same side of the political aisle told us that that's irrelevant evidence. So which is the truth?
That is a fun point. That is really fun, Tom. I like that. And I had not thought of that myself, the comparison. Yeah, you're right. This idiot fake FBI agent, the deep state MS-13 NBC guy, with his big lie, his fabrication about the FBI director, Kash Patel's, about 8-8, the flag is going to be brought back to full staff. And you're right. But then you look at the tattoos of the marijuana leaf being M, the smiley face being S, and then the 1-3 on the knuckles. Oh, there's nothing to see. Oh, that was photoshopped. Oh, that was... Yeah, I'm beginning to think, Tom, that the Democrats tend to lie a lot. I think truth may not be their strong suit. But I could be right. Well, in fact, I'm certain I'm right.